So, I'm the fake daughter of the Marquise's estate? IJBOL, literally hilarious. I'm not even slightly shook. Because I already know the madam has swapped every single kid in this mansion. My 5 older brothers, 4 younger ones, 3 older sisters and 2 younger sisters, all fake. Oh, wait, my bad. I still have a 6th brother who's the patriarch's secret love child from outside the gates. He wasn't swapped by the madame, but he's not the patriarch's biological kid either. The survival rate in this house is 100%, but the actual bloodline rate is a big fat 0%. Today, the 4th young miss of the Yong'an estate just found out she's a total fraud. Father, I'm actually your real biological daughter, she cried. My fake-ass father looked at his clone of a biological daughter, then back at me, looking like he just swallowed a bug. In that peak awkward moment, the madam stepped in to secure the bag with one line. It's all just fate, isn't it? Heir is still my daughter. Since when did this estate lack an extra bowl of rice for her? I was so moved I could cried, swearing I'd be the perfect filial daughter to this queen. Until that night, when the madam's assistant finished giving her the receipts. The first young master is a brute, exactly like his real dad, the blacksmith from the west side. The 3rd young master is good with numbers, just like the accountant from the South City rice shop, and the 5th has freakish strength. Yeah, he's also a spawn of the blacksmith. The 2nd and 4th young masters are literary geniuses, just like their scholar fathers. And the girls? The 2nd young miss is a sewing prodigy, born to a Suzhou embroiderer. The 5th young miss has a beautiful voice, birthed by a former courtesan from the Huai River. Madam, we can confirm that every child under the Marquise's name, except for the real daughter who returned today, has 0 blood relation to him. The Marquess doesn't have a single biological heir. All my hard work over the last decade really paid off. The patriarch must have dug up the madam's ancestral graves in his past life to deserve this level of karma. By the way, that girl Heir wasn't too scared today, was she? The 4th young miss is incredibly grateful to you. She truly sees you as her only support now. What a sensible child. With a fake daughter like her standing in front as a shield, who would ever doubt the legitimacy of the others? So I'm not just a fake, I'm a strategic decoy used to cover for the rest of the frauds. Being a fake is rough. I'm probably going to get bullied to death by the real daughter later. Fine, double Heir's allowance starting now, and take it out of my own private stash. Yes, madam. Oh my god, what did I just witness? Is she actually a hidden genius? Single-handedly cleaning house and exposing the tea on her enemy's secret kids. My entire mood has shifted. I was a fake socialite living in fear. But now I hold the cards, or wait, I mean the keys to the entire Marquise estate's survival. Before breakfast, I coincidentally ran into the real daughter, Lu Tiantian, in the garden path. Look, 4th sister, father gifted me this yesterday. He said it's a rare jade bracelet straight from the palace. You've lived in this house for so many years. You must have a ton of these, right? That bracelet of yours is truly gorgeous. Father treats you so well. Well, obviously. Father said, since I'm his biological daughter, he has to give the best things to his own blood. Then you better cherish it, little sister. Because in this house, everything else besides you is basically a fake. During breakfast, looking at all the siblings, I felt like I was touring the madam's personal exhibition of frauds. Excellent. She has the martial foundation of the Lu Hu family, or maybe just the foundation of a blacksmith if you ask me. My child's talent is extraordinary. Extraordinary. My foot. His real son is probably out in the fields digging up sweet potatoes right now. Born with divine strength, this child is so much like me. Like you? Please. She's more like the local blacksmith, if anything. Sheer, you're looking a little pale lately. I've ordered the kitchen to stew some rock sugar bird's nest. Eat up, father. Tiantian followed the eat without speaking, sleep without moving rule to a T. The madam used the strict house etiquette to systematically humble Lu Tiantian, using the ancient stuffy rules of the Marquise estate to polish her into submission. Any shred of ambition she had to walk all over me would be worn down to nothing sooner or later. As for me, I'm perfectly playing the role of the quiet, slightly clumsy fake daughter. Double the living allowance from the madam, here I come. I used half to level up my lifestyle and secretly hoarded the rest. My intuition told me that living in this psycho household, having a secret stash is never a bad move. Days just drifted by in that weirdly balanced, eerie kind of peace. That was until the legendary 6th brother finally crawled back. Lu Huangxuan was hauled through the back gate in a dusty, low-key sedan chair. According to the internal household drama, he's the living receipt of one of the patriarch's classic boys will be boys moments. An illegitimate son raised in the shadows, rumored to be a total genius. The day he arrived, the first Madame Shen had us all sitting in the main hall, listening to some teacher drone on about virtuous women. The 6th young master is back? Fine, dump him in the Bigo pavilion and keep his allowance on par with what the 5th young master got before he started school. My God, that allowance is insulting. It's not even on the level of a decent maid, let alone the rest of us. The first madam isn't just welcoming him, she's clearly taking out the trash. The patriarch came home later, his face looking absolute trash, and even from far away, I could hear his voice trembling with repressed rage. Schwanner is my own flesh and blood. If word gets out that we're treating him like this, don't you think people will laugh at us? Big O Pavilion is damp and gloomy. Schwanner's health is fragile. How is he supposed to live there? And that allowance? It's pathetic. My lord, please don't be angry. I'm not being harsh. I'm actually doing this for Schwanner. He just showed up. His status is awkward. If I coddle him too much, the other siblings will get bitter, and that would just make his life a living hell, right? The funds are low, sure, but he won't starve. If you really feel bad for him, you can just slip him extra cash on the side. I'll just pretend I don't see it. Listen to that. Talk about pure gaslighting excellence. She's framing every bit of shade as thinking of him and being the benevolent, magnanimous mother. The first madam is playing the long game, using the silent treatment to keep her saintly wife rep, while pissing off the patriarch and simultaneously marking the sixth brother as a total pariah. High-key masterclass. She's absolutely lethal. I'm starting to get interested in this sixth brother. In a house full of fake performative NPCs, a random illegitimate son drops in. The plot is finally starting to give. Time for me to accidentally cross paths with him. I found Lu Huangxuan in a sketchy corner of the garden, moon-gazing and looking all melancholic. Wait, why does this face look so familiar? You must be the fourth sister, right? Little brother Huangshuan pays his respects to fourth sister. Manners are on point, I see. No need for the formalities, sixth brother. Just let mother know if you need anything. What am I even saying? Asking the matriarch for help? Might as well walk straight into a trap. Many thanks for your concern, fourth sister. Bai Wu Pavilion is just fine, it's quiet, and the treatment is decent enough. Decent? Are you kidding me? The extra allowance from the patriarch definitely hasn't reached her hands yet. The matriarch basically acted like it doesn't exist. The servants are smart. They'll make sure that silver never touches her palm. We exchanged some basic small talk about the weather and dinner, then called it a day. He looks so familiar. Where have I seen him before? Wait, that's not right. According to the top-secret intel I eavesdropped on that night, Lu Huangxian's mother was the mistress of the Prince of Jing. Shouldn't he be the prince's secret son? Why does he look exactly like my fake nice patriarch father? A few days later, the patriarch's entire vibe shifted. I don't know what triggered him, but he suddenly started praising Lu Huangxian non-stop at the dinner table. Huangxian, this essay is honestly top tier. Your calligraphy has real character. You're destined for big things. You guys should all learn a thing or two from him. The look on the siblings' faces at the table was priceless. The eldest brother, Lu Huangwu, let out a cold snort and slammed his utensils down a little too hard. The second brother, Lu Huangwen, let his smile drop and started picking at his food, unbothered. The fifth brother, Lu Huangli, muttered, "Big deal, he knows how to write a few characters," and even the usually chill third sister frowned. The real golden child, Lu Tiantian, bit her lip, her eyes turning red. She's been in the manor for ages and father has never praised her like that. As for Lu Huangshan, the center of this drama, he was squirming in his seat, face cycling between red and white. "You flatter me, father. I'm nowhere near as talented as my brothers." I kept my head down and ate, reading the situation like a book. The patriarch is clearly throwing Lu Huangshan under the bus. He's using him to stir up drama among the other kids, all while low-key bragging about his own vision and generosity. The Marquise is right, Schwanner is definitely driven, but the kids all have their own strengths. Wu is brave, Wen is a scholar, and Li is sweet and honest. They're all the Marcus's true blessings. Hanner, you've just returned to the estate. Get closer to your siblings. Don't let things stay awkward. That one sentence hit different. It validated the patriarch while soothing the other kids, all while low-key telling Lu Huangyan to stop being an outsider. Lu Huangyan shot the madam a grateful look and scrambled to agree. But I noticed the split second the madam lowered her head to sip tea, a ghost of a smile flickered on her lips. I know that smile way too well. It's the same vibe she had behind the rockery that night, when she looked at the list of fake kids who were about to be finished. Looks like our boy Lu Huangyan is just another pawn already written into the madam's script. This entire manor is literally just one big messy stage play. The patriarch thinks he's the director and the main lead, but in reality, he can't even reach the corner of the script. As for us actors, aside from the real daughter, Lu Tianxian, who is still out here acting totally clueless, everyone else has a set role and their own lunchbox waiting for them. And we're all committed to the bit. Meanwhile, the executive director, Madame Shen, is sitting comfy in the control room, watching the monitors filled with these amateur performances, occasionally tweaking the lighting and the dialogue. She's ensuring this household drama is heading straight for the wild, scandalous finale she's already mapped out. And me? I'm out here pretending to be the classic fourth miss, the new off-the-books staff member, while low-key hoarding sunflower seeds and secret funds, just prepping for the tea that's about to spill in the future. But given the madam's obsession with her kids, and this weird biased favor she shows me, could I be some kind of hidden plot twist? Just thinking about it sends chills down my spine, but honestly, it's kind of exciting. Ugh, Lu Yunxi, chill. You're just a fake heiress here to sip tea and watch the drama. Don't go getting yourself dragged into the mess. People who stand in the middle of the melon patch end up getting hit by a falling melon sooner or later. That really describes my life right now perfectly. The whole mess started with a jade pendant my birth mother left me. The jade is basic, the carving is mid at best. The only flex is this natural red streak in the middle that looks just like a blood tear. I've always kept it hidden on me. That day, the real heiress Lu Tiantian came hovering around my courtyard again. Ever since she realized I, the fake, didn't get kicked out, while she, the real deal, is basically on house arrest. She's constantly swinging by to borrow my stuff. The decor in your place has been looking way more aesthetic lately, sister. She was talking all that talk, but her eyes were scanning the room like a searchlight. Finally locking onto the jade pendant I'd just taken out to air out. This jade looks so unique, why don't you let me borrow it for a few days? No way. Put that down, Lu Tiantian. That is not something you're allowed to touch. I can't touch it. Is there anything in this manor that a real daughter like me can't get her hands on? On the contrary, sister, you're just a peasant's daughter, so what exactly in this house belongs to you? Shut your mouth and give that pendant back to me. And what if I don't? You gonna run and tattle to father and mother? Don't forget your real parents are still out there digging dirt in the countryside. How could she have something like this? This pendant must have been left by my mother, so, naturally, it belongs to me, the real daughter. Her voice was shrill, desperate for the whole manor to hear her drama. I was fuming. This jade is the key to my true identity. How could I let Lu Tiantian just snatch it? Fine, let's take this to mother and settle it. Let's see who she says this jade belongs to. We were tugging at each other, causing a total scene all the way to the main courtyard. What is the meaning of this? Sisters fighting like commoners. Have you no shame? Mother, look, this jade is obviously a keepsake from my late birth mother. My sister keeps insisting it's hers and refuses to give it back. She's clearly bullying me because she knows my mother is gone and I have no one to back me up. Wow, she really is a professional gaslighter. But before I could even defend myself, the madam waved her hand to silence me. Bring it here, let me see. She held the jade up to the light, studying the blood-red vein, her eyes glazing over as if she were lost in a memory. This jade is an old piece of mine, and it has a special connection to Sheer. I only gave it to her once she was older. But listen, Tiantian, it's sweet that you miss your birth mother, but every single item in concubine Lu's dowry was documented back in the day. Alright, Tiantian, you just got back to the estate, so it's understandable you're confused. Let's just drop today's drama and never speak of it again. Sheer, your younger sister is young and misguided, so as the older sister be the bigger person, keep this jade pendant and take care of it. Tiantian's face went red but she didn't dare talk back, leaving with a silhouette that screamed pure resentment, and I'm not over it. The drama seemed to die down, but the vibe in the estate was about to get totally wrecked by a massive plot twist. The new king has been crowned. My so-called father locked himself in his study after hearing the news, and he was literally laughing and crying to himself for a good while before coming out, looking 10 years younger, like he'd just had a major glow-up, with a bounce in his step like he was walking on air. He started calling Lu Huangshuan over constantly, his eyes burning with obsession, as if he could already see the peak of power and influence, and all the clout he was about to inherit through this son. And the transformation in Lu Huangshuan was obvious. The humble, cautious, and borderline shy illegitimate son was officially ghosted. He started wearing silk robes he never dared touch before, walking around with main character energy, his gaze full of arrogance and shade. Word on the street is, he caught the attention of some high-ranking noble, so he thinks his status is skyrocketing. Looking at the legitimate heirs in the house, with 3 parts pure disdain, calling them all brawn and no brains. Total fakes and completely rigid. Especially a fake like me, and that country bumpkin real daughter, who are his favorite targets to drag. I heard the 4th sister isn't even the patriarch's real daughter, yet she's still sitting here? Mother is truly too kind, and 5th sister eat up, I doubt you got that food this good back in the sticks. 6th brother is right, it's all thanks to the blessings of our parents. 6th brother, you've worked hard out there, you should eat more too. The 5th brother couldn't help but jab, 6th brother is really acting different these days, isn't he? Whether you're an interloper in the nest or true-blooded, at the end of the day, you're all just frogs in a well. This world values power and vision. You brothers have talent, but it's a shame you lack the right connections. Schwanner is right. A real man knows how to self-reflect. You all should learn from him. And the thing that gives me the most ick is the madam's reaction. Facing the patriarch's smugness, facing the sudden flexing from Lu Huangshuan, and facing the weird, hype-filled tension in the air, she is unnervingly calm. She's acting like a stone-cold Buddha statue, both merciful and cold, watching the masses perform on the stage below, as if everything had been scripted from the very beginning. This supernatural calmness was more terrifying to me than any violent outburst could ever be. My fake father Lu Zhenyie's delusional fanaticism finally peaked one sunny afternoon before crashing and burning. That day, he pulled his ceremonial robes out from the bottom of a chest, looking radiant as he prepared to enter the palace and see the emperor. Schwanner, this trip is for you and for our Marquise household to secure a glorious future. Lu Huangshuan was so hyped, he couldn't even contain himself. As he passed by me, he lowered his voice to throw some shade. Fourth sister, tell me, once my status changes, should you call me sixth brother, or perhaps your highness? I pretended not to hear him, but internally, I was already lighting a candle for his funeral. Oh, sweet summer child, you're walking a narrow path. Based on that face of yours, I don't buy that father's plot will actually work. The old man didn't return until evening, carried back by the imperial guards on a plank with his butt absolutely shredded and bloody. He had been unconscious for ages. Word was he knelt outside the imperial study forever before he finally got to see the emperor. Your Majesty, my loyalty to you shines as bright as the sun and the moon. When the late emperor was on the throne, I was secretly supporting you. Back when your white moonlight, Lady Feng, met with disaster, I coincidentally saved her and raised the dragon seed in her womb to adulthood. He kept rambling on, overflowing with emotion, clearly moved by his own delusional performance. The new emperor, who was busy reviewing scrolls, stopped his brush dead in its tracks and looked up at Lu Huangshuan. You're certain this is Lady Feng's child? Absolutely, 1000%. Your Majesty, look at these phoenix-like brows and eyes. Don't they carry a hint of Lady Feng's likeness? I would never dare to deceive the throne. I think they carry the likeness of a ghost. All right. Lu Zhenyie, you have some nerve, finding someone who looks just like you to impersonate a prince. Deceiving the throne and playing me for a fool. Do you really think I'm blind? Guards. Marquise of Yong'an, Lu Zhenyie, has committed treason and disrupted the royal bloodline. Drag him away and give him 50 lashes, strip his title, and put the whole household under house arrest. You have 3 days to produce the real child of Lady Feng. If you keep hiding them, the entire family gets exiled. The news spread like wildfire back to the mansion, and by the time my fake father was carried back, he was barely clinging to life. As for Lu Huangshuan, he looked like a kicked puppy with no backbone, cowering in Biwu Pavilion, terrified to step out. The entire manor was in total chaos. The emperor demanded the real child of Lady Feng, and that definition was about to get real messy. Who is the real one, and who is worthy of being the real one? Especially since several young masters and misses, who think they're hot stuff, and look nothing like their comet mothers, started scheming immediately. The first one to jump out was the 5th young miss, Lu Tianyu. The more she looked, the more she felt her beauty was literally legendary, and a voice as sweet as a songbird definitely couldn't have been born from someone as mediocre as her concubine mother. She must have been switched at birth. Maybe she's actually a royal treasure hidden among the commoners. Mother, the more I think about it, the less it adds up. My concubine mother was so sickly back then, how could she have birthed a healthy child like me? Besides, my looks and talent must have some other explanation. Mother, please, you have to help me investigate my true origins. Mother, I find it strange too, that concubine is so frail. Yet I was born with supernatural strength. None of this makes any sense. I'm probably not even her real daughter, right? The 3rd young master, the 5th young miss, all the concubine-born kids, thinking they were special, rushed to the first madam to spill the tea. Every word they uttered implied they had some elite secret lineage, absolutely too good to be the biological offspring of the lord and those low-ranking concubines. The siblings who used to be totally chill with each other were now starting to turn toxic over a status that hadn't even been confirmed, and the side-eye in the manor was reaching peak levels. The real heiress, Lu Tianxian, was keeping it low-key. She was the lord's actual biological daughter, making her the safest but also the most hopeless one in the mix, just watching the drama unfold with pure hate, throwing me the occasional jealous glare. I stayed in the shadows trying to be invisible, but I was sweating for the first madam. The situation was spiraling out of control. The patriarch was lying in bed, barely hanging on. The fakes were so desperate to climb the social ladder they were ready to drag their own mothers through the mud. How is the first madam going to handle the new emperor's decree and keep this delusional squad in check? However, the first madam, Lady Shen, showed me once again what it looks like to stay unbothered, even when the world is literally ending. She sat regally in the main hall, listening to every single one of those concubine-born kids obsess over their noble bloodlines, without a flicker of surprise or anger on her face, just a deep, weary sense of exhaustion. Once they all finished their spiel, she slowly spoke. This manor will obviously follow the emperor's decree. If you all have doubts, then so be it. Go ahead and list every young master and miss in this manor of the appropriate age. And anyone with a birth mother. Then came the deep dive into the old birth records, the indentured contracts of the concubines, the midwife's signature, verifying every single document. Meanwhile, her gaze calmly swept across every face below, catching those who were triggered, nervous, or looking guilty as hell. To avoid any rumors that the Marcus Mansion is playing favorites, tomorrow I will invite the Chief Justice of the Imperial Court and several high-ranking, respected elders to witness the investigation. The truth will be laid out in 4K once we look into it. But I'll say this now, no matter the outcome, you are all children this house has raised for over a decade. If you truly carry royal blood, the Mansion Change wouldn't dare ruin your future. If not, don't hold a grudge and forget your roots. This mansion will always be your home. Her words were perfectly reasoned, balancing grace with ironclad authority, simultaneously fulfilling the imperial decree while shutting down the gossip mill, showcasing the absolute girl-boss energy and broad-mindedness of the matriarch. The concubine's children, who were acting all high and mighty, suddenly felt a wave of cold anxiety beneath their excitement. Bringing in imperial officials and high-ranking guests, isn't that a bit overkill? What if the investigation reveals they aren't the real deal? I'm the only one who knows the truth. What does that subtle, almost invisible smirk on the matriarch's face actually mean? Inviting people to witness? Witness what exactly? Witnessing the Marquise of Yong'an, Lu Zhengye, discover that, aside from the one-country bumpkin daughter they just dragged home, none of his other star children are biologically related to him at all. Witnessing how the Grand Marquise Mansion and their decades-long image of a happy, harmonious family is actually just one massive delusional substituted heir drama directed by an absolute mastermind. I can already see the shook expressions of the noble women attending tomorrow's trial, and the scene of our dear old dad coughing up blood 3 times and kicking the bucket once the truth drops. This move by the matriarch isn't about settling family drama. This is straight up pouring gasoline on the fire. She's literally trying to speed run his death. She's ripping the mask off the entire fake family operation in front of the whole world. High-level play, this is mental assassination at its finest. I touched the warm jade in my sleeve. That blood-red streak seemed to be burning even hotter, and the light from it felt like it was scorching my very skin. But for some reason, beneath the stress, a strange, nameless flicker of anticipation was bubbling in my chest. The madam has been directing this dumpster fire of a drama for over a decade, and we've finally reached the season finale. As a VIP audience member sitting front row, while technically being a background extra who knows nothing, I needed to keep my eyes peeled for every bit of the tea. The identity reveal gala is basically the most chaotic main event in the century-long history of the Yong'an Marquise estate. The new emperor, formerly Prince Tuanjing, must have had nothing better to do than dispatch the capital's magistrate and the clan court officials to grace the Marquise estate with their presence. Under the guise of showing mercy to an old official, he demanded that every single child of the house, legitimate or not, get their identity verified on the spot. The ancient blood testing method is basic as hell, but it's definitely the most dramatic way to expose whoever isn't part of the bloodline. My fake father, Lu Zhengye, the old Marquise, was out here sweating buckets. His face went ghostly pale, and his lips were trembling so hard he couldn't even form a coherent sentence. He was torn between praying one of his kids was a secret prince and dreading the reality check if that hope crashed and burned. The Madam Lady Shen sat perched on her seat like a total boss, rocking that same simple, unbothered aesthetic, not a hair out of place, calmly rubbing her sandalwood prayer beads, with her eyes downcast, acting like she was just at a boring, routine prayer service. The siblings were ushered into the hall, standing in order of age. Eldest brother Lu Huangwu had his brows furrowed in pure stress. The second brother Lu Huangwen had a face as cold as stone, and the fifth brother Lu Huangli was fidgeting like he was on edge. The third sister, the sixth sister, and the rest were looking ghostly pale, fingers twisting their handkerchiefs to death. The real heiress Lu Tianqian had swollen, puffy eyes, looking like she'd been sobbing, yet she was radiating this borderline unhinged level of hope, laser-focused on the bowl of water. The youngest brother was standing at the front, back straight as a board, with a subtle smug smirk playing on his lips, totally looking down on everyone else, convinced he's the chosen one or whatever. fully ready for his main character moment today. Pins pricked their fingers one by one. The eldest brother's blood dropped in, followed by the Marquis. The blood droplets stayed clearly separated, and the Marquis' pupils visibly dilated in pure shock. Second drop, second brother, still no match. Third drop, third sister, still nothing. Fourth drop, mine. As the sharp sting hit my fingertip, my mind went blank and my blood slowly sank into the water. Looking at the Marquis' blood from across the bowl, it felt like there was a massive abyss between us, never destined to merge. I heard Lu Tianqian gasp from beside me, followed immediately by a twisted, sadistic sense of joy. The fifth sister's blood didn't mix. The fifth brother's blood didn't mix. The sixth brother was spared the test since everyone knew his royal bloodline was already sus. One by one, the rest followed, and not a single drop of their blood mixed with the Lord's. The entire hall went dead silent, with only the bowls of clear water reflecting the pale gray faces of everyone present, alongside those bright red streaks that just wouldn't merge, a total vibe check that screamed bloodline betrayal. The patriarch pointed a shaky finger at the crowd of children, packing the room too triggered to even form words. No, this isn't possible, this whole thing is a glitch. Madam Shen, it was you toxic snake. This blood test was ordered by the emperor himself. The clan officials and the royal eunuchs were all witnesses to ensure a fair game. The water and the silver bowls were already here in the manor. I didn't lay a single finger on any of it from start to finish. As for these children, I raised them all and treated them like my own blood. The results today have left me absolutely shook and heartbroken. But it's giving divine intervention. You really can't force a bloodline that isn't there. You treated them like your own blood? Shen, Mingzhou, you heartless witch, you've cut off the entire Lu family lineage. You're straight-up villain material. Their birth mothers were all concubines you brought into this house yourself. I was just the one doing the heavy lifting of raising them. As for who their real fathers are, how would I even know that? Maybe it was a situationship from before they entered the manor, or maybe it happened after, and the Lord himself was too oblivious to notice. I only did my duty to take care of the Lord's children. So tell me, what did I do wrong? The fake father was literally trembling with rage, but he had zero receipts to clap back. Those concubines were indeed all handpicked by him, and the first madam had always played the part of the virtuous wife to perfection. Who could have seen this plot twist coming? This madam is not playing around. She just pivoted the entire scandal of bloodline corruption away from herself, pinning the chaos on the birth mother's messy love lives. Palace drama is notoriously hard to investigate, especially the skeletons buried 2 decades ago. It's practically impossible to get receipts now. The Marquis should watch his tone. The Emperor's decree was verified, and the results are officially in. If the Marquis has beef, he can submit a formal petition, but causing a scene and slandering his own wife, the lack of decorum is tragic. The old man looked at his children in the hall, none of whom looked a single thing like him, then locked eyes with his wife, who was chillingly calm, and finally glanced at the stone-faced officials and the eunuch, who was minding his own business with practiced indifference. A massive, bone-chilling wave of despair completely swallowed him whole. He looked like he aged 20 years in a heartbeat. The man was absolutely spiraling. The young masters and ladies were shook to their core, with the eldest brother clenching his fists, ready to snap but not knowing who to blame. The second brother was ghostly pale. His ego and his entire status had just crumbled into dust. The fifth brother was just wandering around in a daze, totally clueless. Everyone was looking at each other, and the sisters started sobbing, their futures looking absolutely bleak. But the real plot twist was that the real daughter Lu Tiantian's blood didn't mix either. This is wrong, my blood has to mix. I'm your real daughter born to concubine Lu. Look again, everyone, check again. She tried to lunge for the bowl, but the matrons pinned her down while the 2 drops of blood stayed stubbornly apart in the water. It's not real. The water is rigged. There's definitely something wrong with the water. Mother, say something. Please, just say something. Tiantian is having a total meltdown. Drag her out to rest and call a physician. This isn't how it's supposed to go. Father, please, tell them. The whole messy production was coming to a close with the Marquis having a full-blown mental collapse, and the fake heir's futures going down the drain. But there were way too many people who weren't actually blood-related to the Marquis's house, and they couldn't just keep testing everyone one by one to see if they were royal bastards. The situation had clearly spiraled way past what they expected when they first arrived. They were originally just carrying out a secret decree for the new emperor, focusing on investigating Lu Huangjin, the secret son the Marquis had put in the spotlight, all to keep the restless Marquis of Yang'an in check over suspected ties to Prince Jing. Who knew a single bowl of water would result in a total house wipeout? Every single one of the Marquis' supposed children, including the real daughter they were so confident about, didn't have a single drop of the Marcus blood in their veins. This isn't just about the patriarch being messy with his bloodline anymore. It's the biggest joke in the empire, and honestly, it's giving me major ick. Your Excellency, how are we even supposed to report this up the chain? His Majesty only ordered us to verify which kids actually belong to the Marquis. But now that we've found so many that aren't his, how on earth are we supposed to trace all of them? The chief of the clan court furrowed his brows, looking absolutely shook. If there really is royal blood floating around out there, especially if it's directly linked to the emperor, that's a massive red flag for the entire kingdom. Way more serious than the Marquis having a house full of fake heirs. But the real question is, how do we even test for that? And who do we even test? There's a whole crowd of them, kneeling in the hall, over a dozen people. Any one of them could be a royal secret or just some random person's mistake. Are we really going to drag them all to the palace for a blood drop test with the emperor? That is straight up delusional. No dynasty has ever operated like that. It makes zero sense. We have no receipts. Just because they aren't the Marquis's kids doesn't mean we can just assume they're all heirs to the throne. Where is the royal dignity in that? What happens to the imperial decorum? When it comes to royal lineage, you have to be extra cautious and move with clear receipts, not just wild theories. Besides, the clan court and the eunuchs only came here today with the intent to investigate the Marquis's family line, not the throne. The Marquis clearly lost control of his household, and his bloodline is a hot mess. The emperor is going to be absolutely livid when he hears the tea. However, the madame isn't wrong. Palace secrets and private affairs are impossible to fully audit after all this time. Regardless of who their actual fathers are, these young masters and ladies grew up in this house, calling the Marca father and the madam mother their whole lives. Being exposed like this is a total disaster for them. Their reputations are incinerated. It's actually tragic. The priority right now is to head back to the palace and report that the Marquis's bloodline is a total scam, then let the emperor decide how to punish the Marquis. As for what to do with these kids, that's a massive can of worms. The ones with suspicious origins need a separate investigation, but where do we start, and what counts as evidence? He sounded like he was asking the chief, but it felt more like he was throwing shade at everyone in the room, hiding a deeper agenda. You there, the fourth miss, right? Could this old man take a look at the jade pendant you're wearing? Every single eye in the hall immediately locked onto her. Lu Tiantian stopped her pathetic sobbing mid-act, staring intensely at that jade pendant. My heart was pounding like a drum as I raised the pendant with both hands. He stared for so long that the air basically froze over again. Eunuch Wang, please look at these markings, the texture of the jade, and the blood-red vein. This piece matches the specs of the kingdom's legendary blood-scaled jade perfectly. It's definitely the heirloom passed down by the great ancestor. The hidden pattern and the path of the blood-red vein are an exact match to the secret records. Back when Prince Jing earned his merits, the late emperor allowed a piece to be carved into a protective charm for his unborn grandson, praying for his safety. This pendant is exactly what was crafted back then. Another bombshell dropped, even more shocking than the last, leaving everyone's head spinning. The Marquise was left looking completely shook. The head Madame Shen finally opened her eyes to look at me. Her gaze was bottomless, filled with relief, a sense of sorrow, and a burden lifted that I couldn't even begin to understand. Lu Tiantian started screaming, "No way, that's impossible. She's a fake, just some bastard child picked up off the street. How could she possibly be a princess? I'm the real daughter of the Marquis house. Shut your mouth. This is a royal token. How dare you slander it?" Eunuch Wang immediately sent men to the palace for the emperor's decree and to pull all the secret files from that year. Fourth miss, no, young lady. Please follow us to the side hall to rest. We must ensure your safety until the emperor verifies this. I was escorted by the imperial guard, politely but firmly, leaving the room full of people standing there, looking like confused statues. Wait, am I actually a princess? No, that can't be right. The madam was the one who gave me the pendant. Was the madam trying to tamper with the royal bloodline? This was no longer up to the madam, and it sure as hell wasn't up to me anymore. The news reached the palace, and the new emperor went dead silent after hearing it. Word is, he sat alone in the imperial study all night long, staring. The next day, the imperial decree dropped. Lord Lu Zhenye of Yong'an failed to keep his house in order, messing with royal bloodlines and committing treason. He deserved the ultimate penalty. But considering he raised the princess, and she was technically his daughter for a hot minute, he's being let off easy, demoted from a marquis to a mere count of Yong'an, docked 3 years of salary, and ordered to house arrest himself for a reflection session. His son, Lu Huangshuan, got his name wiped from the family records, was banished from the capital, and is effectively cancelled from public life forever. The fourth young miss, Lu Yongxi, is officially the emperor's daughter who was lost to the streets, and she's being titled Princess Anning, to be escorted into the palace immediately. As for my birth mother, Madame Feng, she's being posthumously honored as imperial noble consort Ruyi. Regarding the rest of the Marcus's children, the imperial decree didn't even mention them, which is a major red flag, basically saying their dad isn't even their real father anymore. So they can do whatever, but don't you dare try to claim any royal connections, and definitely don't expect a single cent of the perks. The Marcus's mansion, the count's residence, went from a full house to a literal ghost town overnight. As for Lu Tiantian, the striking resemblance between her and concubine Lu turned out to be the ultimate receipt for her fake setup. Lu Tiantian was speechless. The bloodline proof she was gatekeeping suddenly became the biggest joke in town. She was eventually charged with faking royal relations, and kicked out of the count's residence for good. I was whisked away by the royal guard amidst all the chaos, pure hatred, and everyone staring at me like they'd seen a ghost. The palace is a snake pit. Stay cautious. Take the maid you're used to. It'll be easier to have someone you trust around, my legal mother said. She pointed at Qing He, the quiet pretty girl who's always been stuck to my side like glue. I thought it was suspicious, but my brain was fried, so I just nodded and rolled with it. As the carriage rolled toward the palace, I gripped the jade pendant against my chest, watching the count's manor fade into the distance, and I felt like I'd lived a whole lifetime in a few hours. In the span of a few days, going from a fake heiress, I had suddenly been rebranded as a high-status princess. But honestly, I wasn't feeling a single bit of joy, just pure anxiety, and the feeling that this was all absolute cap. This jade pendant was given to me by my legal mother. Everything I know is just based on the story she fed me. But the emperor, does he actually believe I'm his daughter? Those receipts could fool anyone else, but would they really fool him? Arriving at the palace, the emperor looked at me with this complex, unreadable stare. He didn't press for details, just patted my head and said, "It's good you're back. I'll make sure to compensate you for everything." The rewards started pouring into my new quarters like a flood. My life felt like it was suddenly fast-forwarded into main character mode. I tried my best to adapt to princess life, mastering palace etiquette and dodging all the shade being thrown my way. Thanha was actually a total girl boss, efficient, organized, and loyal to a fault, which honestly saved me so much stress. Just when I thought this chaotic drama was wrapping up with me, officially claiming my royal bloodline, and settling into this life of luxury, a plot twist even more unhinged came along. It was just a normal afternoon. The Empress invited us to a flower viewing party, and somehow, the gossip train derailed onto the topic of my time spent living among the commoners. That reminds me. This Thanha girl next to Princess Annin, I've been looking at her, and she looks familiar, especially when she bows her head. She's the spitting image of that portrait of Lady Feng the Emperor keeps hidden in his study. Your Majesty, I'm unworthy. My features are so plain, how could I ever compare to such a noble woman? Look up and let me see properly. Those brows, that gentle aura. The expressions of the older concubines and royal relatives present shifted instantly. It was uncanny, they were identical, especially when she was quiet. I remember back when the imperial noble consort left the capital. She had a close personal maid by her side, but after the consort met her tragic end, that maid just vanished without a trace. Her words hit the room like a bombshell, shattering the calm atmosphere. Everyone's eyes started darting between me and Thanha, suspicious as hell. Just then, an emergency announcement came from outside. Someone from the Yong'an estate was here with an urgent report for the princess. It was my old nanny, looking ghostly pale as she collapsed onto the floor in a panic. "Princess, I deserve to die 10,000 times over. While cleaning out the late lady's belongings today, I found a suicide note left by the imperial noble consort. The letter clearly states she did indeed give birth to a daughter, but fearing her enemies would strike, she swapped her own flesh and blood with a baby girl from a farming family the very night she gave birth. The letter says the consort's biological daughter has a green, coin-sized birthmark on her left shoulder, and a small red mole behind her ear. I checked, and Thanha indeed has that green birthmark on her shoulder, and the red mole behind her ear." The moment she finished, the entire room went dead silent, IJBOL levels of awkward. I felt like I'd been dropped into an ice pit, my blood literally running cold. Meanwhile, Thanha collapsed to the floor, tears streaming down her face. In a single heartbeat, all the receipts flipped the entire script. According to the newly surfaced suicide note, Thanha is the true biological daughter of the noble consort, the actual royal bloodline. And Lu Yunxi? Just some placeholder girl from a peasant family. Just like that, I went from being the real princess to the absolute fake. "Madam, what exactly are you playing at?" The air felt like it had been sucked right out of the room. The suicide note literally clocked Thanha's hidden red birthmark. The collective evidence and the mix of pity and suspicion in the madam's eyes felt like a cold, suffocating net closing in on me. The jade pendant I'd been rocking my whole life had suddenly become the ultimate smoking gun for my identity fraud. The Empress wore an unprecedented stern expression, pinning me with a gaze that was way too complicated to read. "This is a major matter. We must report this to the Emperor immediately." Her icy stare sent a chill straight through my heart. Servants carefully helped Thanha up, her eyes wide with what looked like pure panic and guilt. Girl, she looked like she wanted to say something, but her nanny shut that down real quick. "Thanha, young lady, come with me to the side hall to rest. His Majesty will be here any second." She's not my handmaiden anymore. She's potentially the true royal heir. And here I am, Lu Yungxi, like a piece of counterfeit goods about to be exposed, bracing for the silent judgment from every single person in the room. The new emperor hurried in, and the moment he saw Thanha's tear-streaked face, his breath hitched, before his eyes finally landed on me, standing there frozen in the corner. What is the meaning of all this? The Empress stepped forward to present the evidence, spilling the tea on the whole situation. The emperor grabbed the letter, his fingers trembling, then held the jade pendant up to the light to check the blood-red veins and hidden patterns. "Lu Yunxi, do you have anything to say for yourself?" What could I even say? This whole setup was clearly a trap orchestrated by the madam. Evidence? Should I tell them I was just as clueless? That's the truth, but it wouldn't do a damn thing. This subject has nothing to say. The decision is entirely up to your Majesty. I didn't plead, I didn't sob, because I suddenly flashed back to the moment I left the estate, when the madam squeezed my hand and whispered, "Be careful with everything, including that Thanha woman you shoved on me. I bet this entire performance was part of your little plan all along." The new emperor stayed silent for so long that my knees started aching, and even the incense in the hall burned down a notch. For now, House Thanha in the side hall of Truong Palace, Lu Van Hai will be moved to Tin Tu Court. Keep her current status for the time being, and arrest everyone involved for a thorough interrogation. This emperor demands the cold, hard truth. Tin Tu Court, the most isolated, freezing dump in the palace, practically a cold palace for the unwanted. I was quietly ushered here from Princess An Nin's chambers. Thanha didn't follow. She's in Truong Palace, where she'll be pampered and protected. As night fell, Tin Tu Court was lit by only a few flickering, pathetic lamps. The wind howling outside the window sounded exactly like that night I eavesdropped on the explosive secret at the Marquis's estate. I sat on the freezing bed, clutching my pillow, my fingers gripping the jade pendant that never belonged to me. It wasn't confiscated, perhaps because the late emperor still wanted to use it as evidence. Or maybe he's still playing some 4D chess with his own doubts. That moment of pure shock when the late emperor looked at Thanha, the complicated look in his eyes when she cried looking at me. If Thanha is the real deal, why did the madam give the jade pendant to me? Unless this fake princess drama has an even deeper, more twisted motive. The days in Tin Tu Court were like stagnant, dead water. I was trapped here, my connection to the outside world completely severed. The food they brought wasn't exactly peasant slop. Sometimes there were even decent snacks. But those two tight-lipped palace maids were like emotionless stone statues. They did the bare minimum to serve and guard, but wouldn't say a damn word. Word is, the Count and his wife have already been tossed into the dungeon, the high-security imperial prison, no less. And those young masters and misses? Even the real one, His Majesty is absolutely fuming. No one is getting out of this alive. So, is the one in here headed for the dungeon with the rest of her family? So Thanha's status has officially been confirmed. Toying with the royal bloodline is a capital offense for the Veen and Marquise estate, and having the nerve to treat a real royal descendant like a common maid. That's just stacking crimes upon crimes, a truly unforgivable move. The new emperor's mercy is likely just keeping me under house arrest, so I don't get in the way while he dismantles the Marquis's estate. Or maybe, I'm just still useful for something. I slowly pieced together the fragments of gossip I'd overheard, bit by bit, trying to piece together the most likely endgame of the matriarch's master plan. The maid Qing He was the real princess all along, the biological daughter of the imperial noble consort, swapped in a frantic cover-up years ago. Found by the matriarch who used her dark tricks to keep her secretly hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to drop the final letter and use the birthmark to drop the ultimate reveal. And I, Lu Yunh, am likely the peasant girl the imperial noble consort used as the replacement. The matriarch only adopted me to be a smokescreen for Qing He, forcing me to play the fake princess to catch all the heat and danger in her place. Once the real princess is safely back on her pedestal, a fake like me obviously loses all her value, and becomes living proof of a crime against the throne. As for the illegitimate son, Lu Huangshan, he was originally a pawn in the Marquise's scheme, but the matriarch flipped the script, making him the designated scapegoat for the royal betrayal. The real heiress Lu Tiantian is blood related to the Marquise, but she was born at the wrong time and ended up being the most awkward variable of all. So my life went from peasant girl to fake heiress to fake princess and now to a condemned criminal. It looks like a wild ride, but in reality, every step I took was just a move on someone else's chessboard. The only silver lining is that compared to those about to face the executioner, I managed to steal a few extra days of life and got to experience a fake messy version of love. Thinking of the new emperor, a dull ache rises in my chest. Not a romantic obsession, but the natural trust and yearning a daughter has for her father. In the Marquise's estate, the love of my adoptive father Lu Zhengye was always reserved for those who were actually useful. The new emperor used to treat me like his own flesh and blood. The care in his eyes, his awkward attempts to shower me with gifts, it all felt so real, but now I know it was all a lie. In his eyes, I'm nothing more than a fraud who dared to taint the royal bloodline and commit treason. The days and nights in Jingxi Pavilion drag on forever, identical and endless. I sit by the window, watching the leaves fall in the courtyard, listening to the cold wind howl, my heart long since numbed, waiting for a sentencing that's more agonizing than death itself. I don't know when the imperial decree will drop. Will it be a white silk noose or a cup of poisoned wine? My stolen life is finally ready for the final act. But why? I didn't expect the person arriving to be the matriarch, Shen Mingzhu, instead of an executioner. That afternoon, the usually quiet Jingxi Pavilion was chaotic, with a line of well-dressed palace maids moving with calculated efficiency as they poured inside. The head matron led the way, carrying ornate silk trays piled high with formal court robes and lavish jewelry. Madame Shen was decked out in a brand-new dark purple court gown, sporting an official headdress, looking more flushed and satisfied than I've ever seen her. Why are you still spacing out like that, remembering the past? The auspicious hour is almost here. Hurry up, get bathed and changed. The real princess has finally returned to her rightful place. Do they really need to drag a fake like me out, dress me up, and force me to perform in their final little act before I'm dragged off to be executed? This is beyond toxic. Their movements weren't necessarily violent, but they carried a force that left zero room for argument. As they let down my hair and combed through it, the freezing teeth of the comb scraped my scalp, leaving me in a dull, throbbing pain. Golden pins and pearl flowers, every cold, heavy accessory was jammed into my hair one by one. They were pulling my hair so tight it felt like my skin was stretching. I stared at my reflection in the bronze mirror, a girl decked out in fine jewelry, but looking like a total stranger. My eyes burned, but I just went numb and endured it. Stand up and give us a spin so I can see. I stood up, completely dead inside, moving like a wooden puppet. I'm about to be beheaded. And you want me to play the role of an actress for your final performance? Truly, the audacity. Perhaps it was because the ready-to-die expression on my face was just too obvious. The madam finally sensed that something was off. She waved her hand, signaling the palace maids and the matron to back off. Why are you acting like this? Who on earth made you mad? Mother, or should I say madam, did you come here today just to see me off on my final journey? Are you here to watch me eat a final meal and have my hair done perfectly, just so I can go to my grave looking good? Who said anything about beheading you? Who told you that you were going to die? Isn't it obvious? I'm just a fake, aren't I? The real princess has been found. How could a fake like me survive this? Why would you even think that? Do you think I spent all that effort to overhaul the entire household staff just to end up handing over a fake princess, committing treason, and getting myself dragged into the mess? Do you really? Shini, listen to me very carefully. From the very beginning, you were the real deal. You are the daughter of the imperial noble consort, the bloodline of the current emperor, and of noble royal descent, the most prestigious princess of the great Chu dynasty. We've reached a point where there's nothing left to hide. Your birth mother, the imperial noble consort, was actually pregnant when she fled the capital during that crisis. Her father, your grandfather, was once the grand tutor, but he got caught up in court drama and lost everything. Falling under the late emperor's suspicion, power-hungry factions blocked him from bringing your mother home, leaving her to wander in exile. Her labor was an absolute death trap. To keep you safe, I completely scrapped the original baby swap plan. You are the princess, and the peasant girl originally meant to be swapped for Lu Tiantian was actually Fan Ha. Am I actually a princess? And as for Lu Huangshuan, he's just a random peasant kid who happens to look like Lu Jinye. He's definitely not some secret illegitimate son. Your father's road to the throne was a total minefield, and the capital is crawling with tangled power struggles. Instead of putting you in the spotlight as a target, it was better to keep you hidden in the shadows so you could grow up safe. As for your siblings, the more they show off and attract attention, the safer you stay in the background. So the birthmark on Thon Ha's back and that whole fated death drama was just a fake out to draw the snakes out of their holes. Even though the emperor has ascended the throne, the remnants of the forces that destroyed your mother's family, along with those plotting to weaponize the royal bloodline, are still lurking in the dark. A princess who is found and lost, or whose identity is doubted, is the perfect bait to stir the waters and make those traitors expose themselves. Outsiders have no idea when Consort Feng gave birth, or if it was a boy or a girl. So if there's one fake princess, there's bound to be a second, and maybe even a fake prince. And clearly quite a few of them took the bait. By now, most of the trash we needed to take out has been dealt with. But why didn't anyone tell me? I had absolutely no idea. I spent all this time thinking I was a total fake, just a pawn that could be dumped whenever. I've been living in absolute terror. That's on me, and it's on your father too. I assumed that once the emperor brought you into the palace, he'd just explain everything to you. When I left the estate, I specifically warned you that the palace was messy and to watch your back. I had you take Than Ha with you, just in case things went south. I thought she could give you a hint, or that the emperor would finally spill the tea. Ugh, who would have guessed your royal father would be such a red flag? I couldn't exactly spill all the details. I just hinted that he should finally reveal the truth to her. But he's out here just living his best life. Too busy with his harem to care about the real issues. It's honestly giving toxic energy. Shen Mingzhou, I really don't like the tone of this conversation. You never told me I needed to come clean to the girl immediately. You only said the palace was a mess and that Sheer needed my protection, so I obviously assumed you had everything handled. Plus, your Marquise estate isn't exactly safe. And my imperial palace is hardly a sanctuary either. So logic dictates that you, the one who actually raised her, should found the right moment to spill the tea. You dragged this out until she was terrified, and now you're throwing shade at me? Shen Mingzhou, the madam who was just serving major main character energy, now faced the emperor with a stiff back but eyes that couldn't quite hold his gaze. She was clearly losing this argument, but her ego refused to fold. Your Majesty, that's just plain wrong. I'm living in a den of vipers where every move is watched. How was I supposed to say anything? It's actually you, Your Majesty, who brought the princess here. A father-daughter reunion should be an obvious conversation, shouldn't it? Why stall until now, leaving the princess to spiral in fear like that? I was just waiting for the perfect moment. What kind of moment? Was the princess shaking in her boots at Jingxi Pavilion for days the perfect moment you were waiting for? Haven't I arrived here now, though? And you showing up dressed to the nines? Aren't you afraid of drawing unnecessary attention? I'm a first-rank noblewoman. I can waltz in and out of this palace whenever I want. It's actually Your Majesty who's acting all shady, skulking around here like you've got something to hide. Watching this whole chaotic scene unfold, the new emperor of the Great Chu dynasty, and my incredibly sus stepmother, it's giving two parents bickering and passing the blame back and forth, arguing over whose fault it is that I've been through so much drama. All that emotional damage I was feeling suddenly started to fade, replaced by a weird sense of warmth and pure absolute absurdity. I was on the verge of laughing and crying at the same time, so I wasn't some unwanted counterfeit good after all. Turns out, this unreliable emperor and my terrifyingly sharp madame were actually arguing over who should have told me the truth this whole time. My tears finally betrayed me, streaming down and ruining my perfectly beat face. The two of them stopped their squabbling immediately and looked my way. Heir, so you really are the princess? This isn't going to change again, is it? You silly girl? Of course you're real, you're more genuine than gold itself. The investiture ceremony was grand and dramatic, a total glow-up from that chaotic reunion earlier. I was draped in the most gorgeous royal gown. With all the court officials watching, and the ceremonial hymns echoing, I stepped up to the high altar, receiving the golden scroll and the imperial seal that solidified my status as princess from the emperor's own hands. This time there was no fear or feeling like I was living in a fever dream, just a heavy, undeniable sense of belonging. I am Lu Yunxi, the princess of the Great Zhou. After the ceremony, I moved into my newly renovated princess palace. It was absolutely stunning and massive. Everything inside was exquisite. Every single item was a total flex. The servants were bowing left and right, everything screaming that the new emperor was officially obsessed with his long-lost daughter. Still, I had this lingering trauma, a tiny part of me that was too shook to fully buy into the vibe. It wasn't until that afternoon, when the emperor dropped by after finishing his royal duties, acting like a totally normal dad, asking what I wanted for dinner. He mentioned a new chef from Jiangnan had just arrived. I looked at his smiling face, hesitated, and couldn't help but tug on his sleeve. Father, I have to confirm one more time, am I really your daughter? There aren't going to be any more plot twists, right? Ha 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 ha. You, oh you. He kept laughing, unable to stop. Why are you still stuck on that? I already told you. It's 100% legit, no cap. But, Lord Liu and that illegitimate son of his, they look a lot like you too. Bloodlines can be a total gaslight sometimes. Heir, you and your mother look. From the moment I first saw you at the Marquise's estate, I was absolutely shook. But the situation was just too messy back then. I didn't dare rush to claim you, fearing it would put a target on your back. Besides, he patted my head, you were never truly out of my sight even when you were little. Your stepmother, Madame Shen, was constantly leaking info to me. The childhood toys you obsessed over, those custom silver needles for embroidery, even that rare travelogue. You really thought the Marquis house or Madame Shen were just spoiling you because they liked you? I was the one behind it all, using her as a middleman so they'd accidentally fall into your hands. I knew you were obsessed with the osmanthus cakes from that shop in the southern district. Knew you were terrified of thunderstorms, and knew you picked up memorization fast but had mid-tier handwriting. I missed out on so much of your life, so I could only try to be a part of it through these little side quests. Turns out, all that low-key warmth and the extra attention didn't just happen by accident. That final wall of doubt and distance in my heart completely crumbled right then and there, replaced by a massive wave of emotion and a sting in my nose. Your Highness, the vibe is sweet, but I suddenly remembered another question that's been living rent-free in my head. So, about my mother being named Imperial Noble Consort, was she actually the love of your life? The scripts all say the same thing, the devoted emperor, the White Lotus who died young, leaving behind the only royal heir who's absolutely pampered. To my surprise, the emperor's face went through a range of weird expressions, like he had a toothache, mixed with pure cringe, and a hint of suppressed tea that he couldn't quite spit out. Definitely not, he answered, practically grinding his teeth. Your mother was my junior sister. We studied under the same master, your grandfather. Her talent was on another level, and she was so arrogant that none of us royal princes could even touch her. According to her, us as noble princes were just a bunch of slightly smarter trust fund babies in her eyes. I respected her intellect and admired her vibe. She was a bestie and family, but there was zero romantic tension. Plus, with her personality, she could trigger someone into a literal rage. I'm not a glutton for punishment. Why would I catch feelings for her? This was officially nothing like the sad, tragic love story I'd been fed. Then how did she end up pregnant with me? A thought even more terrifying hit me, my voice shaking. Wait, did you force yourself on her? You don't look like that kind of guy, though. Nonsense, it was clearly your mother who forced herself on me. That year, your mother's family faced a catastrophe, and she was left all alone. She was a total girl boss, dead set on protecting her kin, but with the dynasty in chaos, her future was looking majorly sus. She claimed the Zhao clan owed the Feng family an explanation, and she wanted to leave the Fengs with some leverage and a glimmer of hope. So, she chose this emperor. I mean, look at him. Phoenix eyes, regal vibes, effortless main character energy. Even if he's getting up there in age, he's still a rare visual king, and back in his prime, he was probably peak handsome. But honestly, it wasn't even just about the looks. She claimed her child needed the most elite bloodline, and the strongest security to even survive in this kill-or-be-killed era. Maybe even leave a door open to clear the Feng family's name later on. She was a martial arts icon back then, plus an expert in medicine. I slipped up, got played, and when I finally woke up, the deed was done. No going back. She just left me a note saying she was borrowing my bloodline for a bit, and would let me know when the kid was born. Then she ghosted me, told me never to look for her, and vanished into thin air. Talk about a cold-blooded queen move. Damn, my mom was actually iconic. So you only found mom later because of me? I never stopped looking for her, not for a second. Eventually, word reached me that she was in trouble. When I finally arrived, I was only just in time to save you from being wrapped in those blankets. She spent her whole life being an absolute queen, never bowing to me, never asking for a single thing. His voice dropped, heavy with a lifetime of pent-up regret. It's on me. I'm useless for failing to protect her properly. I saw the raw pain and self-loathing in the Emperor's eyes, and honestly, I was shook. It wasn't that he didn't care for Mom. It was just a vibe that was way more complicated, deeper laced with respect, guilt, and the crushing regret of not being able to keep her safe. Maybe there was even some lingering bitterness from being played, mixed with the eternal bond of sharing a child. Mom must have really trusted you, which is exactly why she picked you to be my father. Yeah, I know. Once the dust finally settled, the imperial court started handing out rewards faster than the old man used to fight for the last piece of pork knuckle. First off, my dad, His Imperial Majesty, dropped 3 entire storefronts on me just like that. 8 manors, 12 chests of jewels, and an entire squad of imperial chefs dedicated to cooking for me. All because he was terrified. I'd remember the days I had to survive on pickled veggies at the Marquis's estate. Father, I really can't eat all of this, it's just too much. Feed it to the dogs then. My daughter will absolutely never go hungry under my watch. Fair enough, the dogs at the princess's manor are living their best life now. Next up, my legal mother. What do I call her now? Madame Shen Min Xiao. When the imperial decree arrived, she was just chillin', arranging flowers like it was nothing. When the eunuch read the part about her being granted the title of first-rank lady, and the extra allowance, plus the royal immunity scroll, the scissors in her hand stayed perfectly steady. Not even a single tremble. Not happy? Oh, she was thrilled. But honestly, I was even more amused that half of Lu Zhenheap's travel funds came straight from my original dowry. Turns out, what did she do next? She founded a school for women, specifically taking in orphans that their families had discarded like trash. I asked her, why? She said, if a place like this had existed back then, she and her mother wouldn't have had to resort to desperate measures just to survive. Of course, it was mostly because she was bored. Once you finish serving karma, you gotta find a new hobby, right? And as for the Count's estate, now the former Count's estate, what about those siblings of mine? Ah, my eldest brother Lu Hoangvu asked to be stationed at the border, but he stopped by to see me before he left. After a long silence, he finally just said, Princess, I was in the wrong back then. My second brother, Lu Hongvan, was appointed magistrate of Fuangjia, and before he headed out, our broke scholar of a father hobbled over on his cane to see him off. Son, whatever you do, don't be corrupt. Don't worry, father, I've got it. Later, I heard he governed that town so well that nothing left on the street would ever be stolen. But the magistrate's office was so broke that even the mice packed their bags and left, all because the magistrate kept spending his own salary to fix the roads and bridges. After hearing the news, our scholar father got so hyped he wrote another volume of his Diary of a Scholar's Son. And my fifth brother, Lu Huang, the first time he did an escort run, he came back looking like a total mess. Big sis, the world is way too big. Are you sure you were doing security or just getting into street fights? When he hit those bandits, he took down 8 of them solo. The head of the firm said he was literally built for this. Zhang the blacksmith heard the story and forged him a full suit of armor, in a fit of rage. Save some energy, kid, you can't even swing a hammer properly. Eventually, my fifth brother became the golden escort of the firm. The underworld literally calls him Lu the Iron Fist now. His biological dad hung a sign at the smithy, Lu the Iron Fist's father, weapons forged here, 3-year warranty included, and business has been absolutely popping off. As for the third sister and fifth younger sister, Aunt had already secured their dowries for some fancy high-status families. Some rich guys tried to be nosy and dig into their messy family history. Aunt shut them down. My Shen Mingzhou's daughters are married off now. Any issues, come talk to me, and not a single soul dared to speak up again. Nowadays, they usually just hang out, sip tea, and do some embroidery, occasionally complaining that their husbands aren't bringing home enough bank, or that their kids are a menace, but nobody mentions the Marquis's mansion, and nobody brings up the past. It's like it was just one collective, mid-nightmare they've all moved on from. The fifth young lady, Lu Tianwu, married a tea merchant as his second wife. The merchant knew she came from a scholarly background, so he treated her with total respect. It's a peaceful luxury life. Rumor has it she's way more grounded now, even helping him run the shop. The business is thriving, honestly thriving. At the end of the day, people have to learn to touch grass. The absolute mess is Lu Tianxian, the real heiress, the real bloodline, but with the worst luck. She tried to pull a stunt and scream at the imperial clan court, I'm the real princess, but ended up exiled to the most remote convent ever. I visited her once. She was just sitting there on a wall, looking totally shook, clutching a handful of weeds. When she saw me, her eyes went from pure hatred to total emptiness, and then she just hung her head. Maybe she finally realized that being real or fake doesn't matter. Actually living a good life is the only flex. And Lu Huangshuan, that thirsty for clout illegitimate son, he vanished into thin air the second his identity was exposed. Word is, someone saw him down in Jiangnan working as an accountant. Some say he was spotted at the border, tagging along with merchant caravans. Others say he's completely lost his mind, rambling to anyone who'll listen about how he used to be royalty. But we all know some people would rather rot in their own Delulu delusions. The day Thanha left, I walked her to the city gates. She's finally off to see the apricot blossoms in the Jiangnan rain. Make sure you run the embroidery shop well. From now on, all my outfits are coming from you. Take care, Your Highness. You too, Sister Thanha. She didn't ask for a fancy title or a status. She just wanted her freedom. Maybe to her being a princess was just a cage, and a simple life is the real glow-up. Auntie, do you still hate my cheap excuse for a father? I used to, but now it just feels like watching the curtains close on a flop play. The lead actor is dead, and it's time for the audience to head home. Truth is, the old man never even realized I was the one who swapped Huangshuan. He thinks his luck just sucked, and he ended up with a kid who took after him. Talk about professional level gaslighting. I have a kind-hearted aunt who treats me well and actually gives me solid advice. I'm surrounded by people who keep it real. Everyone's living their best life. Plus, the palace snacks are elite. Life is actually pretty good. Honestly, life is just like the chess games the emperor used to play. You think you've hit a dead end, but then you find a new path. You think you've totally lost the game, but the real show is only just starting.